All right, we're going to try this again. Welcome to the mentor session with Todd Ferguson. Had to stop the last video. My Facebook was acting up. So hopefully this is better and hopefully this is working. So my name's Todd. I am a mentor here in AO, and we're here to answer questions that you guys have today. A little bit about myself. I run a 3PL warehouse, or a third-party logistics warehouse, out of Southern Missouri. So we fulfill orders for e-commerce brands and other brick and mortar locations. We also sell on several e-commerce sites and own a couple of different e-commerce brands as well. So we're going to get into questions as we get through here. If you guys asked one of these questions and it didn't make sense, or you need more explanation, feel free to reach out to me via Messenger so we can take care of that for you guys. So we'll get through these. We got 4 to answer today. The first one comes from Rohit. Question says, what do you do for high risk fraud orders? So the business description is, I sell exotic snacks and drinks. We get high risk fraud orders from time to time on Shopify, and sometimes they seem to be true. We got one from my country, and I'm not sure if it's a scam or not. It was a $200 order and tipped us $20. We just don't want to lose money. So a couple different things on here, Rohit, is, if you're using a platform such as Shopify or Amazon, BigCommerce, there's other different ones, Square, anything like that. The reason why you pay the fee a lot of times to process credit card payments or anything like that is to help prevent you from fraud and to help be that extra layer of protection. And so that's what those places are there for. Clearly, fraud's going to happen. Clearly, people are dishonest. Oftentimes, they'll get credit card information fraudulent and use that. I mean, there's a couple different things you can do. Is make sure that you are using a processor that will back you. If somebody does a chargeback or if it's fraud, the credit card company should take care of that. That should not be on you. Make sure you have systems and processes in place that show that you shipped an order. Make sure you're using reputable delivery services, such as, in the United States, it's the U.S. Postal Service, it's FedEx, DHL, and UPS. As long as you can show that you shipped the product and that it was delivered, oftentimes credit card companies will back you up. And then also, just make sure that, there might be something, if you're doing it on Shopify, to where Shopify requires you to, for the shipping address and the billing address to match. We do a lot of online ordering for our Amazon stores, and oftentimes when we order from a website, we have our home address as the billing address and then our warehouse as the shipping address. And so whenever that happens, there's a red flag that pops up, and usually the company will call us to verify that that's correct. So, I wouldn't be scared of it. And part of business is losing money at some point. It's learning from those mistakes, but really just put systems in place. I mean, you could even, if you're really afraid of it, I don't know if a $200 order is large for you, but if you have systems in place to where you can call the customer, you can thank them, you can say, hey, can you just verify your shipping and billing address for us real quick? That's something you could do, but really just make sure you use incredible companies and or services that will back you in the case of that instance if something was fraudulent, so that way you're not at risk. Sometimes though, when somebody, it is fraudulent or they file a chargeback, your money is tied up a little bit. But like for us with Amazon, we just got a chargeback the other day. The customer said, "Oh, I didn't buy this." Well, clearly you did. We had to show that we shipped it. We had to show that it was delivered. We had to show the tracking number. We had to put the date that we shipped it. And so, sometimes it takes 90 days for them to figure it out. But the thing to think about is your goal, I think, would be, this is kind of off this topic, but your goal would be to scale quickly. So that way, if you do have an order like this, you've got so much money rolling, so many orders coming in that it's not a big hit. But if you're selling $500 a week and it's a $200 order and it is fraudulent, I understand where you're coming from there. So again, if you need more help on that, feel free to reach out to me via text or via Messenger. So next question comes from Ricardo. Ricardo asks, what are some practical ways to build business relationships in business? So the business description says, I own a barbershop. I want to continue building relationships in my field. Are there any suggestions of how to do this effectively in any industry? Ricardo, great question. What we have seen is when we build those relationships with other people and we really invest in those relationships, that's where we can see our business start to, take off and make some big moves. And I could go back through years and years and years of the relationships that we've built, that have really worked out. The first thing I would encourage you is make sure when you're going into a relationship, things that I really try to focus on are not making it all about me and what I'm trying to get out of the relationship. It's more about how can it be a mutually beneficial relationship. What can I provide to that person? And, you think about Sean and what he does for AO. Like, he really is invested in giving and giving and giving to other members, and making sure that they get what they need. And that is the attitude that has worked well for us too. Is when your goal is to meet people and build relationships. It's what can I do to enhance their life or their product or their service, not what can they do for me. So if you have that mindset, that really helps. Secondly, once you do build these relationships, and I'll go into in just a little bit of what you can do to build them, but once you build them, the way you follow up and the things that you can do to make yourself memorable are super, super important in my opinion. I know Joel, when he was coaching me, and I've seen his stuff, he's talked about this before, but he does handwritten notes. How often do you really get a handwritten note in the mail? So you think about, ways that you can create awareness around the relationship that you have with another individual and get them to remember you. We just came back from the spring social or winter social at Sean's, and Eric Landino sent out a little brownie to us, had my name on it and all that, and was like, man, this is so cool. So very memorable. So, think about that kind of stuff once you build the relationship. But some practical ways is just to get out. You're already in Toastmasters. I know that. Join your Chamber of Commerce. Look to go to networking events. I mean, if I think you're in California, if I remember right, and you're in a larger city, there's events all the time that you can go to. And it doesn't necessarily have to be business events or entrepreneur events, but those would be the ideal ones. But it's really just getting yourself out there, getting yourself known, introducing yourself to as many people as you can, and learning to ask them questions about themselves and their business, and not worrying about, you want to tell them that you own a premium barbershop and you're doing all this great stuff in the community and you have the best haircuts. That's not the goal. The goal is to really figure out what you can do for them and really start working on building those relationships. Bedros Keuilian, I follow him. He talks about doing 3 gratitude texts in the morning. So texting people. So that'd be something you could do as well. Once you meet people, you exchange numbers, or, LinkedIn profiles, or, Facebook or Instagram, whatever it is. But, you send them a thing and just say, hey, I'm so glad that I got to meet you. I love hearing about your business. But really just trying to cultivate and foster that relationship. But it really is just getting outside of your building and making it to where you have to talk to people, and that's what Toastmasters is doing for you, is getting you comfortable in front of people. And I've seen the change in you just speaking in front of AO. So hopefully that helps. Is just just get out there, pound the pavement, go meet pick a 2-mile radius around your business, and go make it a goal to go meet every business owner that is in that 2-mile radius. There's creative stuff like that. So that's what I would work on. Next question comes from Ricardo as well. It says, how does a sales professional build their sales skills? So he owns and operates a barbershop. He wants to practice and help his team upsell products and services. How do I build a sales script? The easiest answer to that is, Tom Black is in the group as a mentor, one of the greatest sales coaches ever, in my opinion. And, just talking to Sean as well, and then hearing him speak, he's somebody you could hire. He can build a sales script for you. I know that he has taken people's businesses from, $50,000 to $100,000 to $500,000, $750,000, over $1 million, based on the sales scripts and the follow-up that he has. There's also inside of the portal, if you guys don't know this, I think it's called Pro Code Sales, and there's a ton of videos in there and scripts and ways to interact with your audience. And you can have your team do that. You can have your team all watch the same thing. And then the big thing, as I'm not a sales professional necessarily, but the things that have worked for us, and even if it's sales or just interacting with customer service, is role playing with your team. And role playing is not, there's probably a better word to use, but it's really just practicing, right? It's really just saying, hey, let's off the cuff, let's talk about this, because the worst thing you want to do is for somebody to feel uncomfortable, stumble over their words when they're trying to sell something, and then they don't have the confidence that they need, because sales is about numbers and about confidence. And if you have a small number of people that you are talking to and you're looking for yeses, the better chance you have is to get a large number of people, figure out your percentages, and know that, if you ask 50 people, 5 are going to say yes, 45 are going to say no. So you've got to get through those 50 people as fast as you can. So that would be the number, but then the confidence is making sure that they understand, how to upsell, how to talk to somebody, how to handle rejection. So, but the big thing would, to Tom would be, I'm sure Sean is going to give this to Tom. But he's available to coach or to be a coach, I believe. But then really just hammer in. I mean, you're paying for mentorship inside the group with these questions, but then you also have access to the portal, and there's a ton of great information in there and in the portal. And so I would just go in there yourself, look through the pro code cells, figure out which ones really apply to you, or do them in order. I'm probably not the best person to ask of how to do that, but go through there and then you watch them with your team. I don't think they're very long, but if you set aside 5 to 10 to 15 minutes a week and you go through that with your team, I think you'll start to see some big improvements. Okay, the last question comes from Lamont. Lamont asks, what different bank accounts should I have for my business, and what is the purpose of each? So it says, I provide a point of sale system, security cameras, IPTV service, and IT support to business and homeowners. I have 2 standard business accounts at 2 banks and a few personal bank accounts. In the early stages of my business, I use my personal account to cover business expenses and also receive payments from my clients. I have since transitioned to making all business purchases on my business account, but still allow clients to send payments to my personal accounts for their convenience. It's becoming very difficult to manage and see revenue from my business as both business and personal accounts to be mixed. And then he just talks about the accounts that he has for his business. He's got an operation account, a business savings, a personal operations account, and then a personal savings. So I think you're on the right track. Clearly, intermingling or commingling personal and business funds is a mistake, not just from an accounting standpoint, but also from a liability standpoint. Again, I'm going to say this: I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not any of those things. But from the stuff that we've researched and the advice we've gotten, clearly you want to separate that as soon as possible. I'm not really sure why you said you're trying to make it easy. Convenient, I guess it's not easy, but convenience to send stuff to your personal account. So I believe you just went full time from your either teaching job or being an administrator in a school. But like, you have a real business, and you've had a real business, but now that you do, and your family's relying on that, you've got to take some serious steps to make sure you're protecting yourself and you're separating that. And so I'm not sure what convenience you're providing to your customers by allowing them to send it to your personal account, but that would be something that I would make, a personal commitment to end right now. Like starting, I don't know, what is today? Wednesday? I don't even know what today is. Tuesday, Wednesday. But by the end of the week, give yourself 3 or 4 days and say, listen, we're going to put systems and processes in place to make sure I'm separating that. And the first step would be to not allow any business transactions to come into my personal account, and vice versa. Get with a good accountant, a CPA, a bookkeeper, whatever you want to do, and really have them help you set that up. For us, we do have, for each of our businesses, we have a separate checking account. And then for several of them, we have a savings account to where, when we get disbursements or deposits, X percent goes in there for savings, like you talked about. And then we have several personal accounts as well, personal savings. We have a HSA account. And I am a very firm believer, especially with the way the economy is now and the crashes with all the banks, is not having all my cash anyway in one bank. So spreading that out. And actually, my wife is very adamant about that, spreading that out across multiple banks. But you're on the right path with having that stuff set up. But really, for you, it'd be just making sure that all business transactions are strictly business. There's no business money coming into your personal account, and you're on the way with that. So, guys, hopefully that helped. And again, if it didn't make sense, you need more clarification, feel free to reach out. And if you guys have questions, put them in the portal so Sean can disperse them out to 5 or 6 or 10 different mentors. There's a wealth of knowledge in the group. Sean himself, we talked about Tom, talked about Joel. I know there's tons of other Dan Abate that when I was on my way to becoming a mentor, I got some great advice and feedback from. And so that's the thing, is when you're able to get multiple views of a single question or a problem, there's not necessarily always a right or wrong way, but it's what works best for your business. What works best for you, and oftentimes when you get advice from one person, it may not be the best advice, it may not be bad, but it may be to where there's a different set of eyes or a different lens that people are looking through, or they've had a different experience. And so that's something I found valuable. But the way to do that is to really just ask the question. So, guys, thanks for your time, and we will talk to you all soon.